Hi, you guys. Wow, everyone can hear me? I have so much I want to share, so my plan is to just talk super fast. So, first, years ago, I got to help start this kind of crazy project to figure out how we could get more humans into space. And people think this is like billionaires with their big swinging rockets, but really what it is this very long-term vision of what happens with plan B for humans, right? In the best case scenario, Earth will eventually like melt into the sun or something, right? So we got to come up with something that we could do instead to keep this going, and that's if you believe that humans have done anything worth preserving. And when you look at a project like this, the vision is trillions of humans thriving in space, which sounds insane, and maybe it is, but a project like that would start with one small step, right? And it would be the step of figuring out how do we get people into space, and lots of them. And so what I learned from that is that sometimes you can find people who are able to think on longer time horizons, right? A project like that might take thousands of years. But, most people are busy just trying to pay a rent. So they're not getting to think about problems for generations yet to come. Well, once in a while you get somebody maybe successful enough that they don't have to worry about paying rent. And they can start to think about those kinds of things. And to me, it was inspiring because what I could learn from that is that, a lot of the things that we panic about on a day-to-day basis aren't actually the biggest problem. There may be the biggest problem today, but it wasn't the biggest problem last week. And I think if you learn to think about things in that way, you can sort of get out of the rat race of panicking about whatever's in the news. If you look at what was going on last year, you probably can't even remember what you were panicking about a year ago. And probably if you ask yourself, is this going to be the biggest problem next year? The answer is probably not. And then try 10 years. If that doesn't work, try 100 years. There's almost nothing you can come up with that's worse now than it was 100 years ago. And there's no reason to believe that that won't be true over the next century as well. So, see if you can find yourself on this chart. This is the history of humans here on planet Earth. So, not very many of us. About 160,000 years ago, you get the first Homo sapiens, and then it's just thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, and not until the last 200 years did we hit that hockey stick growth curve and go from millions to billions almost overnight. Right? And that curve is what defines everything we're experiencing in the world today, right? How do you feed all those people? Give them jobs, give them homes, eradicate the disease that's killing them off. Well, we actually solved partially, maybe not wholly, a lot of those problems along the way, and that's why we were able to make this happen. That's why you and I exist. Each time we invented a new technology, brought it into the world, it helped us solve that problem at a larger scale. And that's really how we got here. But if there's one thing all these extra humans are good for, it's making more problems. So we have to figure out, how are we going to invent on that scale? How are we going to solve the problems that exist in the world on that scale for 8 billion people so that they don't just survive, but they can also thrive? This is Anopheles stephensi. She's a female mosquito carrying malaria in sub-Saharan Africa, and this is the most dangerous animal on Earth. Not sharks, not snakes, not spiders. Actually, the person sitting next to you is a pretty close second. Watch out for them. Disease spread by mosquitoes is taking almost 1 million lives every year, right? Mostly kids who never had a chance. The life cycle of malaria is complicated. It spends some of its life in a human, some of its life in a mosquito. We don't understand that much about it. And so what we need to do is figure out how to attack every point in its life cycle. Are there ways we could interrupt that? This is the old-fashioned way of going after malaria. You just spray chemicals that kill everything, and then you hope the good stuff comes back, right? This is how we got rid of malaria in Southern Europe and in the Southwest in the US. And then you teach your kids to sing, DDT is good for me. This is a real ad from like the 40s. DDT is not actually that good for you. It's just, this is the best technology we had at the time, right? But it's not good enough to solve the problem at the scale we have it, especially in places like sub-Saharan Africa. So we have to invent new tools for the arsenal. And when you're an inventor, you always try to invent a solution involving lasers because lasers are cool. So we thought, what if we could just find those mosquitoes and shoot them down with laser beams? And we started using motion detection algorithms to find things that are moving. We aim a laser at the thing that's moving, and from that we can sample the wing beat frequency. Is this a mosquito? Is it a bug? What species? What gender? We can actually answer all those questions just from the wing beat. And so, if it's a female, Anopheles stephensi, then we shoot it down with a lethal laser. She's not coming back. It's okay, you guys, you can laugh. You can kill as many mosquitoes as you want, because they're not cute. Nobody likes them. Here we vaporized her wing off. At the beginning, we sort of overdid it because we didn't know how big of a laser to use, so we used too big a laser and just started vaporizing entire bugs. But it's very satisfying work if you can get it. Hopefully you guys have cool jobs too. This was going on all at the Intellectual Ventures Lab. And what we were trying to do is invent technologies to help us with some of the biggest problems in the world. Could we find new ways to solve them? And, you know, we were just cheating by hiring one of every kind of scientist, and this is our machine shop. We bought one of every tool in the world so we could just build stuff. And if you do that at a pretty large scale, you sometimes find good answers. You know, invention is this kind of haphazard business where you have like crazy hair and a DeLorean and you don't really know which of these things is going to work. So you just got to try a lot of things. And if you try a lot of things, eventually you find something useful. And that's really the trick. Nobody's smart enough to know what's going to work the best in the future. So you have to run a lot of experiments and get a lot of shots on goal, and that's what we would do. So the new technologies that you can use to go after these big problems, we call that deep tech. And deep tech basically means, you know, not iPhone apps. You know, we have to name the other stuff, so I started calling it shallow tech. We didn't really have a name for that. We think we live in a world full of technology, but we really just live in a world full of software, right? Like, what is the tech industry's big wins? You know, oh, they disrupted taxis. That's not that big of an industry. What about disrupting, I don't know, General Mills or General Electric or General Motors or Saudi Aramco? Like, let's go after the trillion-dollar industries. Well, you know, software may be eating the world, but the world can't eat software. We have to go and do the other things that Silicon Valley isn't getting around to. So I'm going to give you some examples. Take a look at this. The shipping industry is busy hauling Happy Meal toys from China across oceans to get them to your local McDonald's, right? It's probably twice the emissions of air travel. I don't know if you know this, but a typical cargo ship has 2 fuel tanks. One of them has refined fuel, which they burn until it gets out of sight, and you can't see it from the shore anymore. And then they switch over to burning this nasty bunker oil. It's like the worst stuff. It's kind of optimized for carbon emissions. But what if we made cargo ships that could sail? Like sailing's been working for centuries. We know that works, right? We could make them autonomous so they don't even need a crew. It's easier than self-driving cars. It's hardly anything to run into out there, right? Why wouldn't we do that? It's not even that hard. We don't need technology we don't have. We know how to do that. There are things like this that we can fix. We're busy trying to recycle the cheapest crap on earth, cardboard boxes and plastic bottles, right? It's not working very well. You know, we're burning more coal to recycle plastic than if you just make fresh plastic. And we've been trying for 50 years. It's not a very good track record. We haven't even started recycling the most expensive stuff on earth. $20 billion worth of gold goes into electronics every year. And then it ends up in a gold mine we call a landfill. Isn't that crazy? We got a company that has figured out a non-toxic chemical process that can separate the gold from the other waste and recycle it. It's infinitely recyclable. I thought I would mention this because I invited the founder of this company, and he's speaking tomorrow on the Deep Tech stage. So if you're here tomorrow, come, think I'm full of shit, come and listen to the founder, and he'll explain how that works. It's pretty cool, right? Cement is the most CO2 emitting material on Earth. Probably 13% of global CO2 emissions is from cement. And you can't offset that with, solar panels. It's not just the energy in cement, that's part of it, but it's actually the chemical process of making the cement emits carbon. And then the stuff lasts for 50 years and crumbles, which is an astounding thing because, look at this. You recognize that building? That's made of cement. It's been there in a seismic zone for 2,000 years. Somehow the Romans made cement that could last virtually forever. Our cement has steel reinforcement in it and crumbles in decades. So what's going on? Well, the Romans knew how to make better cement than us. And somehow, along the way, I think what happened is they got lazy, started watching a lot of Netflix, and then just forgot how to make cement. I don't know what happened, but it took us 2,000 years to figure it out. We got a team at MIT that just figured it out. And this is amazing for us because now we know how to make cement that lasts virtually forever. It doesn't cost more. And 20% less CO2 for free. Go into any cement factory, upgrade them, start making cement that's better, use less of it, use less steel, and we get a carbon emissions improvement straight out of the box. This is what's possible, right? When I say deep tech, I'm talking about technologies like this. You can't solve them with just software, and we haven't been working on these things for decades. We've just been busy, getting SaaS holes to make Zoom and Slack and stuff for us. Why not go after the trillion-dollar industries? So look, we are all made of stars. That's not just song lyrics, it probably is song lyrics, but it's actually true. We're actually made from this star, the sun. All of the energy in the world comes from this star. That's not just solar energy, also the coal and the gas and the oil in the ground, all that came from the sun. The uranium, all of it, the energy comes from the sun. All the photosynthesis to grow everything you ever ate came from the sun. And when you look around, most people on Earth, the average Earthling gets about as much energy as one toaster. A toaster running 24/7. So that's all your heating, cooling, jet fuel, gas, travel, everything, all your food adds up to one toaster. But where I come from, we get 8 bonus toasters. Right? Americans get 9 times as much energy as the average person on Earth. Europeans get by on 5 or 6 times as much energy as the average person. In the last couple years, it's gone down to like 4 or 5 times as much energy, but not because you want to, right? That's how much energy it takes to have our standard of living. And so I think it's important to understand this, because to get that average, 3 billion people have to live on less than 1 toaster worth of energy. Not because they want to. The real demand for energy in this world is 10x global energy production. And I know that sounds insane, and nobody is telling you that that's what the target needs to be. But guess what? We've done it before. That's right, we 10x'd global energy production over the last century. Now, we did it by burning more coal, burning more oil, burning more gas, right? We don't want to 10x that stuff. We learned our lesson. We want to 10x, but we want to do it with the little sliver at the top, what we call renewables. That's your solar and wind, but it's also your nuclear reactors and things. I want to give you one other way that you probably haven't thought of. Solar panels have 2 big problems: clouds and nighttime. The relentless onslaught of night ruins solar panels' productivity every single day. It's insane. It's driving us crazy. But guess what? Take the same solar panels, you put them in space, there's sun 24/7 up there. It looks like night when you look out there, but no, space gets sun all the time. So a solar panel in space will get 8 times as much energy, and then it can beam it down to Earth using radio waves. Right? This isn't actually that hard. We have all the technology to do it. You can get solar panels in space. Right now, it's crazy expensive. Not as crazy expensive as it was in space shuttle days. In those days, it was $40,000 a kilogram to put stuff in space. SpaceX got it down to $2,700 a kilogram. This gets irresistibly cost-effective at $300 a kilogram. The SpaceX target for Starship is 10. In our lifetime, actually in this decade, doing solar in space will become the lowest cost baseload energy anywhere on Earth. And you don't need storage, and you don't need transmission lines. People don't even know it's coming. Carbon free. I invited the founder of that company to come speak on the Deep Tech stage tomorrow. So if you think I'm full of shit, come listen to him, and you can learn more about how that works. So look, I just wanted to take a little time to share with you guys what it means to go after these big problems. We think we live in a world with all these problems, and it's true, but we also live in a renaissance where we know more. Scientific progress continued. We can measure almost anything. We have sensors for everything. We have networks to bring that data back to giant supercomputers where we can analyze it and we can figure out what is possible. And we can start to create a more awesome future. And it's super exciting to be able to see these technologies. I want to share them with you because I think it's important to have a sense of optimism about how we can actually improve on all of these things. There's almost no technical problem that we don't know how to solve, which is crazy to think about. That wasn't true even a decade ago, right? But now we actually know how we could improve almost everything. And all we got to do is just get off our butts and do it. So I'm pretty excited about that. My name's Pablos. Feel free to email me if you want to know more. We have some time with a Q&A session in another room. I don't know where it is, but if you want to come hang out, I will come hang out and answer questions as long as you guys want. And we can talk about any of this stuff. I promise I'm friendlier than I seem. I'm just running on Red Bull right now. So thank you very much.